The music was low, a warm bass sliding under murmured conversations and the clink of glasses. Marcus Hale stood near the end of the mahogany bar, one hand resting on the polished wood he'd chosen himself, the other around a glass of dark rye. He wore no suit tonight, just jeans and a plain charcoal shirt. He liked nights like this, anonymous, present, a man among people, not a name on a license. The door swung open hard enough to rattle the frame. Officer Trent Doyle walked in with the casual ownership of someone who expected no challenge. Hand on his belt, eyes sweeping the room like he smelled something wrong. He locked on Marcus. "You," Doyle said, voice flat. "Stand up." Marcus didn't move. The air tightened. A pair of men at a corner table fell quiet. Doyle stepped closer. Boots loud. "I said stand. You don't drink here. Not tonight." Marcus lifted his eyes. Calm. Slow. "This is a public establishment." Doyle leaned in until his breath brushed Marcus's ear. "You people don't belong here." Conversation died across the room. Glasses paused midair. A bartender froze behind a row of bottles. Marcus's fingers tightened around his glass. The bar, his bar, felt suddenly too small, like the walls had closed in. Heat boiled up his spine, a pulse of humiliation burning behind his ribs. He opened his mouth to speak. Someone near the door raised a phone to record. The moment balanced, trembling, ready to break. Marcus sat at the far end of the bar, one elbow resting against the wood. "Yeah, just the rye," he had told the bartender earlier. Nothing special. He wasn't here to stand out. He just wanted space, warmth, the low hum of voices washing together. The lighting was soft, not dim. His design. But tonight no one knew that. A pair of regulars talked near him. "Heard there's been more patrols around here lately." "Yeah, zoning board stuff. They're looking for excuses." Marcus listened without reacting. The door slammed. Officer Doyle strode in. No hesitation. Just the confident gait of a man who believed the room belonged to him before he entered it. The bartender, Elise, stiffened. "Evening, officer." Doyle ignored her. His gaze swept the room before landing hard on Marcus. "You," he said. Marcus didn't respond. "Stand up." A man at a side table whispered. "What's he doing?" Marcus spoke evenly. "I'm having a drink." "That a problem?" Doyle stepped closer. "Yeah, it is." "You need to leave," Elise tried to speak. "Officer, he hasn't." Doyle held up a hand. "Bar policies. We got a report of a disturbance earlier. I'm clearing potential issues." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I've been here for an hour, quiet." Doyle's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Then leaving shouldn't be an issue." A silence spread, thick, expectant, smothering. Marcus rose slowly. "This is unnecessary." "That so?" Doyle moved closer, lowering his voice but not enough to hide. "Look, man, some places aren't for you. Don't make this complex." Marcus's throat worked once. "I belong here." "No," Doyle whispered. "You don't." The room exhaled in a hush of discomfort. Marcus looked around. Eyes avoided his. No one spoke. He stepped toward the exit. Controlled, deliberate. Elise called out, voice shaking. "Marcus." He didn't turn. Outside. Cold air hit his lungs. The door clicked shut behind him. He stood still. And he burned. The morning came gray and heavy, the kind of light that flattened color and made everything feel unfinished. Marcus sat at the small kitchen table in his apartment, a mug of coffee cooling untouched in front of him. The silence felt hostile. Not peaceful, not restful. Just space too large for the thoughts inside it. A notification buzzed on his phone. A message from a co-worker at the community center. "Saw what happened. You good?" Marcus didn't respond. He set the phone face down. A knock hit the door. Sharp, familiar rhythm. He didn't need to ask who it was. Lena stepped inside without waiting to be invited, dropping her bag onto his counter like she lived there. Her hair was pulled back, her posture taut with something close to anger. Not at him, no, but radiating outward. "You should have said something," she said. "No greeting. No easing in. You should have told him right there." Marcus rubbed his temple. "And what would that have changed?" "He kicked you out of your own bar, Marcus." Her voice cracked, not weak, just too full. "Your name is literally on the paperwork." Marcus cut her off quietly. "No one in that room would have backed me if I said it." Lena stared, then sat across from him. "You don't know that. I do. He finally looked up. You saw their faces. They were waiting to see how ugly it got. Not to stop it, Lena's mouth tightened. Her fingers tapped the table. He wanted to humiliate you. And he did. Are you just going to sit with that? The words hit, but Marcus didn't flinch. I'm thinking. A beat of quiet, she softened fractionally. Thinking can turn into hiding, he knew. Later that afternoon, Marcus walked through the neighborhood. The air smelled like car exhaust and distant frying oil from the corner shop. A few people nodded at him. The kind of nods that carried we heard, we know, we don't know what to do. At a bus stop, he overheard two men talking. He got thrown out for causing trouble. That's what I heard. Guy's always angry, man. You can see it, Marcus slowed, invisible to them. Cop said he was yelling, trying to start something. Marcus closed his eyes. Rumor spread fast. It didn't matter what happened. Only what was convenient to believe. He kept walking. At the community center, Mrs. Dobbs, the director, pulled him aside. Her face was careful. Professional concern mixed with something else he couldn't quite name. Marcus, she said, I heard about last night. I'm sorry you went through that. He nodded. She hesitated. Listen, I need you to be mindful. If this situation escalates, it could affect your work here. We depend on city grants. Police cooperation is... Marcus stared at her. You're telling me to stay quiet. She didn't deny it. I'm telling you to be strategic. These things get complicated. Complicated for who? He asked. She didn't answer. He found Lena again outside, leaning against his car. You ready to talk yet? She asked. No, he said. But I'm ready to move. She raised an eyebrow. Meaning? Meaning I'm not letting the story settle the way they want. Her jaw set, a hard, steady determination rising like heat. Then we start with proof. Ownership documents. Witness names. Elise will speak. Marcus looked at her. You think she will? She froze last night, Lena said. But she was shaking. People who shake aren't okay with what they saw. Marcus exhaled slowly. Good, Lena continued. Then next step is a lawyer. Someone who understands cases like this. Marcus nodded. I'll call Jordan. Lena blinked. Jordan Rivera? He's been handling civil rights work downtown. He'll take the call. Lena's eyes sharpened with something like hope, but the kind that had teeth. The kind that expected pain before progress. Then we move, she said. Marcus looked back toward the direction of the bar. The streetlights were flickering on one by one. The city shifting into night. He felt the memory of Doyle's breath at his ear. You don't belong here. Marcus's voice, when it came, was low and steady. Yes, we move. The law office was small, tucked above a laundromat where dryers thumped a slow, uneven rhythm. The waiting room smelled faintly of detergent and old carpet. Marcus sat stiff in the chair, hands clasped, as Lena paced in slow, tight circles. The door to the office opened. Jordan Rivera stepped out, tall, late 30s, dark curls pulled back, suit jacket loose, sleeves rolled up like he lived in motion. His voice was calm. Marcus, Lena, come in. They followed him into a narrow office where stacked case folders leaned like tired monuments against the walls. A single framed photo sat on the desk. Jordan shaking hands with a group of community organizers. No blackies. No degrees on display. Just work. Jordan shut the door and sat. Tell me what happened. Marcus spoke minimally, not out of restraint, but precision. The bar, Doyle, the removal. The silence in the room. The fact that the bar staff didn't intervene. The fact that Marcus didn't reveal ownership. Jordan listened without interrupting. When Marcus finished, Jordan leaned back. And you have documentation of ownership. Yes, good, that matters. Jordan tapped his pen once against the desk. But ownership alone won't fix this. The issue isn't property, it's power. Lena's jaw tightened. So what do? We start with a record, Jordan said. A time-stamped account of events from you. Witness statements if you can get them. And video if it exists. Marcus nodded once. We have security cameras in the bar, 4. Jordan's expression didn't shift, but something sharpened behind his eyes. Does the footage overwrite automatically? Every 72 hours, Jordan stood immediately. Then the footage is priority 1, today, before tonight. They left the office. Cold air slapped their faces as they stepped onto the street. Lena exhaled. Security footage. We go now, Marcus shook his head once. We don't go there without preparation. Why not? Because Doyle might come back. Lena stopped walking. You really think so? Marcus didn't answer. He didn't have to. The police precinct was only 3 blocks away from the bar. Officer Trent Doyle sat in the locker room half-uniformed, lacing his boots with slow, deliberate pulls. Another officer leaned against the wall nearby. Heard you had trouble at Hale's place last night, the other officer said. Doyle smirked. Not trouble. Just cleanup. Guy causing problems? Didn't even need to cause any. Some people are problems just by being there. The other officer didn't laugh, but he didn't object either. Doyle stood, rolling his shoulders back like preparing for a performance. Captain says we've got extra eyes on that block. Something about zoning pressure. The other officer nodded. So we're supporting business owners there? Doyle's grin was thin. We're supporting the right ones. Back on the street, Marcus and Lena reached the bar's back entrance. Marcus unlocked the door and stepped inside. The bar felt different in daylight, quiet, still, like a stage waiting for actors. The chairs were up on tables. The smell was of sanitizer and old wood. Elise was there, stocking glassware. She froze when she saw Marcus. Hey, she said, voice raw. Marcus nodded. Hey, Lena didn't soften. We need the security footage from last night. Elise swallowed. I figured. I already backed it up. On a drive. Marcus stared at her, surprised. Elise's hands were shaking again like the previous night hadn't left her. I didn't know what to do, but I wasn't going to pretend I didn't see what I saw. Lena's voice gentled only a fraction. Thank you. Elise retrieved a small USB drive from behind the counter and placed it on the wood. Marcus picked it up. The weight felt heavier than plastic should. Elise spoke quietly. He looked at you like he wanted other people to agree with him. Like he expected it, Marcus nodded once. He did. A beat of silence. Elise met his eyes. For what it's worth. I knew the place was yours. I just didn't say anything last night. I froze. Marcus didn't let her drown in apology. You're here now. Elise's eyes widened, relief and shame mixing in something painfully human. Jordan reviewed the footage that afternoon in his office. The video displayed Marcus sitting calmly. Doyle approaching. The forced removal. The watching room. No aggression. No argument. Just humiliation enforced by uniform. Jordan leaned back. This is clear. His voice was steady, deliberate. This is not just misconduct. This is targeted removal without cause. Lena exhaled slow. Marcus didn't react. His face had gone still, not numb, but sharpened. Jordan continued. Next step is formal notice. We file a complaint. We notify the bar's landlord and insurance. We prepare for press if necessary. Lena nodded. Marcus spoke quietly. What happens when we file? Jordan didn't soften the truth. The department will circle around him. They'll question your character. They'll dig for anything in your past they can twist. They'll try to wait you out. Most people break before the hearing. Lena looked at Marcus. You won't. Marcus didn't answer immediately. He just breathed. Controlled. Contained. When do we start? Marcus asked. Now, Jordan said. Marcus nodded once. Something settled in the room. Not hope. Not anger. Resolve. The evening crowd moved differently when Marcus returned to the bar. Quieter, glancing, hesitant. His presence was a disruption, a reminder of what they had witnessed and what they hadn't done. Chairs scraped softly. Conversations dipped when he passed. People pretended not to notice him, which was worse than staring. Elise stood behind the bar polishing glasses, shoulders tense. When she saw Marcus, relief flickered across her face, relief that he had come back at all. You want a seat? She asked. Marcus shook his head. I'll stand. He positioned himself near the same spot as before, not claiming it, just occupying it. Like last time. Only now the air carried memory. A group of regulars shifted in their booth. One of them, a man Marcus recognized vaguely, cleared his throat. Look, man. The man's voice was awkward. About the other night. I didn't know what to do. Marcus didn't look at him. You did nothing. The man flinched. It all happened fast. It didn't, Marcus said. It was slow. Everyone had time. Elise paused mid-polish. The booth fell silent. No one argued. The door opened. Officer Doyle walked in. Not with the slam of last time, but with something worse. Casual confidence. Ownership by familiarity rather than force. Conversations died instantly. Doyle's eyes landed on Marcus and his smile was almost lazy. "Evening," he said. Elise froze. Marcus didn't move. Doyle stepped closer. "Heard there's been talk, feelings, complaints going around. Thought I'd come check that everything's calm." Marcus's voice was level. "You're off duty. Does that matter?" Doyle asked. "It does," Marcus said. Doyle leaned against the bar like he was settling in. "You know, you could have just left this alone. Could have walked away, let it pass. No reason to make this bigger than it needs to be." Lena's voice came from behind Marcus. He hadn't seen her enter, but now she was there, leaning against a pillar like she'd been waiting for the cue. "It got bigger when you put your hands on him," she said. Doyle looked her over, slow and dismissive. "And you are? Someone not afraid of you," she said. Doyle's expression didn't change, but the room shifted. Attention sharpened. "People listen now," Marcus spoke quietly, not for spectacle, for truth. "I filed a complaint. I have footage." For a fraction of a second, something cracked in Doyle's eyes. Not fear, calculation, then it was gone. "Footage can be interpreted," Doyle said. "People see what they expect to see." Marcus stepped closer, not aggressive, but undeniable. "Then we let them see." Doyle's jaw ticked once. "You're making a mistake." "No," Marcus said. "I'm correcting one." The silence that followed was heavy, a weight pressing against everyone's chest. Doyle pushed off the bar and stood straight. He spoke low for Marcus alone. "You think this is about one night? It's not. It's about where you get to be and who gets to tell you." Marcus didn't blink. "You don't get to decide that." Doyle stepped back, not retreating but pulling tension tighter. "We'll see." He turned and walked out. The door closed behind him with a soft click. No one breathed. Later, the crowd thinned. The room loosened but not fully. Elise approached Marcus. "I'm scared." Marcus didn't soften. "I know," she swallowed. "But I'm still here." He nodded. It was enough. Lena slid onto the stool beside him. "He came because he knows the situation is shifting. He's testing boundaries." Marcus exhaled slowly. "He wants me to back down." "He wants you to feel alone," Lena said. "That's how this works." Marcus looked around. The bar he built, the space he shaped, the community he had hoped to anchor. "I did feel alone," he admitted. Lena studied him. "Do you now?" Marcus didn't answer immediately. Elise was refilling glasses. A regular man who had stayed approached Marcus again, this time with his voice steady. "I should have said something," the man said. "I won't stay silent again." Another person nodded. Then another. Not a chorus, not redemption, but a start. Marcus's gaze returned to Lena. "No," he said. "Not now." Lena smiled, not wide but real. "Good," she said. "Because next step is public. And that's when they push back harder." Marcus nodded. The weight of it settled. Not crushing now, but carried. He looked toward the door where Doyle had stood. Pressure wasn't breaking him. It was shaping him. The news story didn't come from a major outlet. It came from a local gossip site, the kind that fed on rumor and low-grade scandal. Always hungry for friction it didn't have to verify. The headline hit like a slap. "Local man ejected from bar after disorderly outburst. Witnesses report aggression. No mention of Doyle. No mention of force. No mention of the badge." The article described Marcus as volatile, uncooperative, threatening in posture. It quoted anonymous patrons who claimed they felt unsafe. Marcus read it twice. The words didn't get clearer, just uglier. Lena read over his shoulder, her breath sharp. "That's coordinated." Marcus set the phone down slowly. "Yes, they're trying to make you the threat." Marcus didn't respond, her voice tightened. "You can't just sit there. This is exactly how they bury people." Marcus finally looked at her, and there was something different in his eyes. Not shock. Not hurt recognition. "I know," he said quietly. "They started the narrative." Lena nodded. "Then we break it." He didn't break that night. Instead, he broke in private. The apartment was too quiet again. The air too still. Marcus sat on the floor, back against the bed, hands loose at his sides. Not clenched, not trembling, just empty. The rage had burned through. What was left was exhaustion so deep it felt like gravity. He whispered to the room, to no one, to himself. "I just wanted to sit in my own bar." The simplicity of it made the world feel cruel in a way too clean to argue with. He didn't cry. He didn't throw anything. He didn't yell. He just sat with the truth that the system wasn't broken. It was working exactly as designed. The next morning, Lena showed up again. She didn't knock this time either. She sat across from him at the kitchen table just like before. But this time, she didn't speak right away. Minutes passed. Then she said, "You don't get to stop here." Marcus stared at the wood grain in the table. "They're already rewriting the story." "Yes," she said. "So you rewrite it louder." He didn't respond. Lena leaned forward, voice precise, steady, cutting through the air like a scalpel. "You think being tired means you stop. But being tired is when they expect you to stop." Marcus closed his eyes. The room felt heavier. Lena continued, not unkind, but unrelenting. "They want you isolated. They want you ashamed. They want you to doubt your own memory." Marcus exhaled, shaky but real. "And if I fight?" he said. "What happens when they dig? What they find? What they twist? Then we face it," Lena said. "Together. But you don't get to vanish. You were humiliated in public. You restore your name in public." Marcus looked at her fully now. Her eyes weren't soft. They were furious. "And loyal," he spoke slowly. "I can't do this alone." "You aren't alone," she said. "You've just been trained to feel alone." They returned to Jordan's office that afternoon. Marcus carried the printed article. Jordan didn't even need to read the whole thing. "Expected," he said. "This is phase 2. Phase 2? Marcus asked. Jordan nodded. "Phase 1 is humiliation. Phase 2 is discrediting. Phase 3 is escalation. If you keep pushing, they'll try to provoke you into reacting. And if you react, they claim justification." Marcus breathed in. Then, "So what's our move?" Jordan leaned forward. "We go on record. We take the footage public. But not through rumor channels. Through a credible journalist. Someone who won't sensationalize. Someone who understands systems." Lena crossed her arms. "Do you have someone?" Jordan nodded. "Yes, but Marcus needs to choose it. He needs to be willing to speak on camera, with his face, his name, his ownership, his account." Marcus listened without moving. "What I say?" Marcus asked. "Will it actually matter?" Jordan didn't offer comfort or certainty. "It will matter because you are not silent." Silence stretched. Then Marcus nodded once. Slow, deliberate, set the meeting. Jordan's gaze didn't show relief, just respect. Lena exhaled. Marcus stood, and the exhaustion didn't disappear. But now it had somewhere to go. The journalist's name was Aisha Benton, early 30s, sharp-eyed, steady-voiced, the kind of presence that didn't need to raise volume to command a room. She arrived at Jordan's office carrying a small camera bag and a legal pad already half filled with notes. "Marcus," she said, shaking his hand, "I appreciate you agreeing to this. I know the cost." Marcus nodded, though he wasn't sure he fully understood the cost yet. He only knew the direction he refused to retreat from. They sat, Marcus and Lena on one side of the table, Aisha on the other, Jordan standing near the window like quiet reinforcement. Aisha clicked her pen. "Start wherever it feels true," Marcus spoke. Not dramatically, not searching for sympathy, just the truth and the bar, the night, Doyle's voice, the words, "You don't belong here." The room that watched, the silence that pinned him more than the officer's hand. Aisha listened the way few people did. No interruptions, no nodding for performance. Just attention that didn't flinch. When he finished, she only asked one question. And how did it feel to have everyone see it and no one stop it? The room felt smaller. Marcus exhaled once. "It felt like being erased in the same space I built." Aisha didn't look away. That's the story. She didn't mean angle. She meant truth. They reviewed the security footage next. The room dimmed as the video played. No sound, just image. Marcus sitting quietly. Doyle approaching. The bar stilling. The removal Aisha watched without reacting. When it ended, she clicked the video back to the beginning and watched it again. Then she set the laptop down. "This is clear," she said. "No ambiguity. No escalation from you, no threat. This is controlled targeting." Jordan nodded. "The department will still push back." "They will," Aisha agreed. "They'll question his demeanor, his tone, his past. They'll try to reframe calm as menacing and composed as uncooperative. They always do. Marcus didn't look away. So we get ahead of it. Aisha nodded once. I'll interview you on camera tomorrow. We'll run the piece by Friday. But hear me clearly, and when this airs, your life changes. People will take sides. Some will call you a liar. Some will decide you made them uncomfortable simply by existing. Marcus absorbed it. No flinch. No panic, just readiness, I know, he said. Aisha studied him, checking for wavering. She found none. Then we proceed, she said. That night, Marcus walked alone. Not to think, to feel the city and its weight and its indifference. Cars hummed past. A siren wailed distantly. Streetlights cast long shadows across pavement scarred with cracks. His bar sat quiet, lights off, windows reflecting the street. He stood outside it, looking in through the glass. His hand lifted, fingertips brushing the door. He remembered building the place, sanding the bar counter, choosing the ambient lighting so people would feel held, not exposed. He remembered the first night they opened, laughter spilling like music. Now the memory sat beside something darker, Doyle's voice, the room that stood still, the silence that complied, the reflection in the glass stared back. Not defeated, changed. The interview took place the next afternoon in the bar itself, before opening hours. Aisha set the camera carefully, adjusting angles until the frame captured Marcus with the bar behind him. The space looked beautiful in daylight. Burnished wood, warm tones, the quiet presence of something built with intention. Aisha sat across from him, just beyond the camera's view. Lena stood in the background, still but solid. Aisha pressed record. State your full name, Marcus Hale. And your relationship to this establishment? I am the owner, she nodded. Describe the night of the incident. Marcus spoke, steady and clean. Not dramatic. Not emotional performance. Just truth. His voice held the weight of experience, not plea. Then Aisha asked, what do you want people to understand about this? Marcus paused. Not because he didn't know, because the answer was too large for language. I want them to understand that racism isn't always loud, he said. Sometimes it's a quiet removal. A quiet shaming. A quiet belief that you don't belong where you are, even when you built the ground under your feet. Silence. Aisha let the words breathe. Then she stopped recording. Lena exhaled slowly. Jordan watched from the side, arms crossed, a rare expression of respect visible. It will air Friday, Aisha said. Marcus nodded. Then we wait. Aisha shook his hand again and firm, grounded. You spoke clearly. They will hear you, Marcus looked at her. Will they listen? Aisha's voice held no illusion. Some will, some won't. But silence is no longer an option. She packed her equipment. Lena walked her out. Marcus stayed in the bar alone and just for a moment. He rested his hand on the counter he had chosen. The place still belonged to him, no matter who tried to write him out. The days between the interview and Friday held their own tension, not explosive but slow and coiled. The kind that sits deep in the chest. Marcus went to work as usual. Doors opened. Drinks poured. Music hummed low. To the untrained eye, nothing had changed. But inside the walls, something had. People spoke softer when they greeted him. Not out of pity or out of awareness. Conversations paused when he passed. Some patrons watched him longer than necessary, as if trying to gauge what stood behind his stillness. Lena moved through the space with more alertness than before. She kept an eye on the door, on faces, on tone shifts in the room. Not paranoid, just aware. Jordan stopped by most evenings, not to talk, but just to be there. He took a seat at the far end of the bar, ordered water, and watched the room. His presence said what his words didn't. I'm not letting this happen again. On Wednesday night, Doyle returned, not with a scene. Not with officers. Alone. The room tightened at the sight of him. He stepped in, calm, casual, the kind of casual that carried intent. His eyes swept the room and landed on Marcus behind the bar. Marcus didn't move, didn't blink, didn't let anything in. Doyle walked forward, stopping just short of the counter. Patrons stopped pretending not to watch. Marcus, Doyle said, tone smooth, rehearsed. We should talk. Marcus didn't respond. Doyle leaned in slightly. Look, things got misunderstood. Tensions were high. No reason this has to escalate further. Marcus said nothing. The silence thickened. Doyle's voice lowered. A news piece helps no one. You go on TV with this, you make enemies you can't see coming. You don't want that. Still, Marcus didn't move. Lena stepped closer, not in front of Marcus, but beside him. Doyle's jaw tightened just enough to reveal the veneer. Be smart, he murmured. This can go quietly. Marcus finally spoke, not loud. Not harsh, you already made it loud. The words landed clean. Doyle held Marcus's eyes for one beat, two, a longer third. Then, he stepped back. Then good luck, he said. He walked. Out, the door clicked shut behind him. No. One spoke for a long moment. Marcus returned to polishing a glass. Like the interaction had been weather, passing, inevitable, but the room understood. This was the last calm. Thursday afternoon, Marcus received a call from Aisha. Final edit is locked, she said. It's strong. It's clear. It's not sensationalized. No background character assassination, no misleading cuts. It's simply truth. Marcus nodded, even though she couldn't see him. There's one more thing, she said. The department refused comment. The bar's management issued a statement claiming you were disruptive and confrontational. Marcus expected it. They're preparing their defense, Aisha said. You need to know that before this airs. Understood. There was a pause. Professional, not emotional. You ready for what comes after? She asked. This time Marcus answered without hesitation. Yes. That night, Marcus closed the bar early, not out of fear, out of intention. He needed quiet. He turned off the lights except for the back bar shelf. Warm amber glow reflected off bottles. The room felt like memory. All the days he built it step by step, board by board, belief by belief. Lena stayed, sitting on a bar stool, knees pulled to chest. She didn't speak. Jordan sat nearby, coat still on, elbows on knees. Marcus leaned on the bar. This place was supposed to be a refuge, he said quietly. A place where people could come and breathe. No judgment. No hierarchy. Just space to be. Lena nodded, eyes steady on him. Jordan didn't move. Marcus continued, voice low, not sorrowful, resolute. They didn't just try to remove me from a bar. They tried to remove me from my own belonging. He paused. I won't let them write that narrative. Lena's eyes were sharp. They won't, Jordan spoke, voice gravel tone. They never expected you to stand up publicly. That's why they're rattled. Marcus glanced between them. When this airs, the bar will be tested. People will choose sides. Some who call this place home may walk away. Lena shook her head. Then they never understood this place to begin with. Silence settled, not heavy. Grounding. Jordan pushed back from his seat. Whatever comes, you won't face it alone. That's already decided. Marcus nodded once, acceptance, not gratitude. This was not a moment of needing reassurance. It was a moment of alignment. They closed up and stepped outside. The street was cool, air crisp, a faint fog rolling in from the river. Across the street, a figure stood under a street lamp, watching, not moving, not hiding, just present. Marcus recognized the stance, not Doyle, someone else. Someone aligned with someone. Jordan saw it too. His posture changed. Subtle. Intentional. The figure didn't approach, didn't threaten, just observed, then turned and walked away. Marcus didn't speak. He didn't need to. Lena exhaled once. They're already preparing. Jordan's jaw set. Let them. Marcus looked at the dark city, the reflections on pavement, the shadows that shifted and stretched. Tomorrow, the story would air. Tonight was the last unbroken moment, the quiet before, not calm. Readiness. Friday evening arrived with a strange stillness in the air, the kind that comes before thunderstorms. The bar opened at 5. By 5:30, every seat was full, not loud, not celebratory, just waiting. The TV above the bar was muted for now. Local news logo rotating, countdown ticking in the corner. 8 minutes until segment. Marcus stood behind the counter, methodically drying glasses. His movements were steady, measured, intentional, the kind of calm that isn't peace but discipline. Lena moved through the room like a current, checking sound, adjusting lights, watching entryways. Jordan was by the door, arms folded. Not guarding, anchoring, patrons whispered among themselves. Is it really happening tonight? Yeah, Channel 9 investigative segment. About the cop? About the cop. About the bar. About him. Eyes flicked toward Marcus, but not intrusive. Acknowledging. At 5:58, Lena turned to Marcus. Time. He nodded once. She took the remote. Turned up the volume. The room hushed itself. The broadcast began. The anchor spoke. Tonight, an exclusive investigation into a confrontation at a popular downtown establishment, and new questions about officer conduct and racial bias in local policing. Footage rolled. The parking lot. The body cam. The moment Doyle shoved Marcus. The handcuffs. The humiliation. The silence of the officers standing by. Patrons inhaled sharply. Some covered their mouths. Others just stared, unblinking. Marcus watched without flinching, not because it didn't hurt, but because the hurt was old now. Integrated. The interview came next. Marcus on screen. Calm voice, steady gaze, posture controlled. I built that place to be open to everyone. I was told I didn't belong in my own space. That's not misunderstanding. That's placement. Someone deciding their authority defines your identity. The anchor's voice returned, outlining the department's refusal to comment. The bar's management's statement calling Marcus disruptive. Aisha appeared briefly explaining systemic power dynamics, institutional deference, and racialized assumptions of ownership. No sensational music, no dramatic crescendo, just truth, clear and unforgiving. Then the segment ended. The screen faded back to the newsroom. The bar was silent, the kind of silence that doesn't descend. It reveals what was already there. A man spoke first. Older, white, seated near the center. I didn't know, he said quietly. Not as apology, as realization. Another voice from the left side of the room. They treated him like he was nothing. Someone else. Whisper sharp. He owned the place. They didn't even check. The conversations grew, not chaotic, not loud, collective processing. Lena looked at Marcus. He didn't speak yet. He didn't need to, because the door opened and Doyle walked in. No uniform, civilian jacket, jaw set, eyes scanning the room. The bar froze. Jordan shifted, stepping forward, but Marcus raised a single hand, not to protect Doyle, to hold the space. Doyle walked right up to the bar, stood on the other side of the counter, face tight, voice low. You think this is the end? Marcus didn't answer. Doyle leaned in slightly, but the room was watching him now. Really watching. People will believe whatever makes them feel righteous. This won't change anything that matters, he said. You just made yourself a target. Marcus spoke, calm even. You already tried to make me a target. This stops being quiet now. Doyle's eyes flickered, just briefly, to the people behind Marcus, the support. The witness. He hadn't expected the room. He turned to leave. But an older black woman near the front spoke, voice steady. You thought no one would care. He paused in the doorway. She continued. You thought he was alone. That's the story, isn't it? Doyle didn't answer. He walked out. The door swung shut behind him. The bar exhaled. Not relief. Recognition. People began approaching Marcus. Some spoke quietly. Some simply touched the bar with their fingertips and nodded. No grand gestures. No pity. Just presence. Reorientation of understanding. Marcus accepted none of it as validation. But he didn't reject it either. It was simply truth landing where it needed to land. Later that night, after last call, the bar was mostly empty. Only Marcus, Lena, and Jordan remained, cleaning in silence. Lena broke it first. They'll retaliate. Jordan nodded. Yes. Marcus didn't stop wiping the counter as he replied. They already started. Someone was watching the bar 2 nights ago. Different person last night. They want me to react. They want fear. Lena leaned forward. So what now? Marcus set the rag down. Looked at both of them. We hold the line. We document everything. We prepare for legal escalation, and we don't give them silence they can fill with their narrative. Jordan exhaled once, the closest he came to approval. Good, he said. Marcus turned off the lights. Only the back shelf glowed again. Amber, warm, unwavering. They stood at the entrance before stepping outside. The night air was cold. Streetlights flickered. A car slowed as it passed, just slightly, then kept moving. Marcus watched it go. Then he said quietly, with no drama, "They know the story's out. Now they'll try to rewrite the consequences." Lena looked at him. "So, we write ours louder." Marcus nodded once. No triumph, no fear, just forward. The retaliation didn't arrive as a dramatic knock on the door. No shouted threats. No vandalism. Nothing cinematic. It came in paperwork. On Monday morning, Marcus walked into the bar to find a bright orange notice stapled to the front window. Code Compliance Review, immediate suspension of operations. No explanation. No warning. No inspection requested. Just closure, effective immediately. Lena stared at the sign, jaw clenched. Jordan read it once, then again, eyes narrowing. Marcus stood still. No shock, just confirmation. Lena spoke first, voice flat and razor-edged. "They're using city code enforcement." Jordan added, "This is how they do it when they want to look lawful. They'll bury you in process and pretend it's procedure." A quiet passerby paused at the sidewalk, reading the notice. He glanced at Marcus, recognition flickering. Then he nodded once, small and firm, before walking on. Marcus unlocked the door. The bar was dark, untouched. The air smelled like citrus cleaner and wood polish. Everything was in its place. Orderly. Real. He stood behind the counter, fingertips resting on the polished surface he had sanded himself years ago. "They think inconvenience will break me," he said. Not boast, observation. Jordan leaned on the counter. "It breaks most people, slowly, quietly, that's the point." Lena's eyes sharpened. "So we don't go quiet." Marcus looked at her. "No." The phone calls began within hours. A reporter from another station. A civil rights attorney in the city. A community organization that had seen this script before. Marcus didn't respond to any calls yet. Not out of avoidance. Out of strategy. He needed to see the scale first. That afternoon, a uniformed officer arrived, not Doyle. Younger, unsteady, trying to appear professional. He held a clipboard. "This establishment is closed pending compliance review." Marcus met his eyes. "What triggered the review?" The officer hesitated. "I'm not authorized to discuss the initiating report." Jordan stepped closer. "Meaning you don't know?" The officer swallowed. "Meaning I can't say?" Marcus nodded once. "Noted." The officer left quickly. Lena exhaled low. "They're testing your response." Marcus replied, "Then we respond clean." That evening, Marcus met with Aisha and a community legal advisor in the back booth of a quiet cafe. The air smelled of burnt espresso and rain-damp coats. Aisha placed a folder on the table. "They're moving faster than expected," she said. The broadcast shook their internal chain. Instead of handling it quietly, someone escalated out of panic. Marcus listened. "The temporary code closure is likely baseless," the lawyer added. "But if we challenge it immediately, the appeal can take weeks. If we go public before challenging, they'll try to frame it as you seeking attention. The narrative battle is already active." Marcus rubbed a thumb along the grain of the wooden table. "So we don't play into their frame. We assert ours," Aisha nodded. "Exactly." The lawyer tapped the folder. "There's another path. File a public counterstatement. Not emotional, not accusatory. Just factual, calm, controlled, and let supporters amplify it." Marcus breathed in once. "Draft it." The statement went live the next morning. "The establishment is temporarily closed due to a code review initiated without prior notice. We will comply fully and transparently with all legal procedures. We remain committed to serving our community, and we appreciate continued support during this process." No blame. No fire. Just truth. It spread anyway. People shared it, commented, organized, not outrage, solidarity. By Wednesday, the street outside the bar held a gathering. Not a protest. Not a spectacle. A presence. People stood quiet, hands in pockets, jackets zipped, holding space. Lena moved through the crowd, checking faces, greeting quietly. Jordan stood beside Marcus, scanning the street for watchers. A woman approached, young, nervous. "My brother was arrested by that same officer," she said. "No one believed him then. People believe now." "Thank you." Marcus didn't respond with comfort. He simply nodded, acknowledgement of shared reality. Another man stepped forward. Mid-50s, work-worn hands. "Didn't know who owned this place before," he said. "But I know who's standing up now." He shook Marcus's hand. Firm, intentional. No speeches were given. No chants. Just presence. Power without theatrics. As dusk fell, Marcus stepped inside the bar alone. The silence was different now, not loss, not emptiness. Potential. He walked the room slowly. Each table, each chair, each photograph. Memory layered over wood grain and light. This place had always been about community. Now, community had chosen to claim it back. He locked the door behind him and stepped outside, where Lena and Jordan waited. Jordan didn't speak. He didn't need to. His stance said, "We stay." Lena's voice was quiet but steady. "They will escalate again." Marcus looked out at the street, at the people lingering, at the police cruiser parked too long down the block, pretending not to watch. "Yes," he said. Jordan's jaw set. "And so will we." A car turned the corner, slow, deliberate. Marcus watched its headlights sweep across pavement, across faces, across the door of the bar. He didn't flinch, because this moment was no longer about reaction. It was about endurance.com, grounded, unshaken. The car passed. The street lights flickered. The night held its breath. The city didn't change overnight. The department didn't fold. Doyle didn't disappear, but pressure is not always loud. Sometimes it's steady, relentless, patient. The code review dragged through 2 weeks of silence, except silence wasn't silence anymore. Every delay drew more attention. Every non-answer pulled more eyes. Every bureaucratic stall became evidence. The city was being watched, and the city knew it. On a cold Tuesday morning, Marcus received a plain envelope in the mail. No seal, no letterhead. Inside, notice of clearance, permit reinstated. Operations may resume immediately, no apology. No explanation, just restoration. Marcus held the paper between his fingers. Lena read it over his shoulder, exhaling through her teeth. They backed off. Jordan didn't smile, but a muscle in his jaw loosened. They didn't have a case. Marcus folded the notice and set it on the counter. "We open Friday," not triumphant. Certain. News spread by word of mouth, not announcements, not posts, just people telling people. By Friday evening, the sidewalk was full before the lights even came on. No signs. No cameras. No chanting. Just presence again. Marcus unlocked the door, stepped inside, flipped the lights. Warm glow spread across wood and bottles and walls that had never stopped belonging to him. The bar filled slowly, respectfully. No chaos. No demand for speeches. People simply came home. Marcus moved behind the bar, not to perform, not to claim victory, just to work. The first customer approached. A quiet nod. A drink ordered. A glass poured, the night flowed, conversation rose. Laughter returned, and not careless, but real. Marcus felt it settle in his chest, and not joy. Exactly. Place belonging reclaimed without permission. Doyle arrived near closing, not flanked, not posturing. Just standing at the doorway, hands in his jacket pockets, looking smaller than before. The bar didn't fall silent, but awareness rippled. Jordan moved, but Marcus stopped him with a glance. Doyle walked forward slowly. Stopped across the bar, the same place where the first confrontation had occurred. His voice was rough, not from emotion, from exhaustion. "It's over," Doyle said. Marcus didn't answer. Doyle continued. "Internal review is happening. I'm on leave. Could be suspension. Could be worse." He gave a hollow laugh. "Depends who they want to protect more." Marcus watched him. Not pity. Not satisfaction, assessment. Doyle's gaze flicked downward. He looked older now. "I didn't think I was doing anything wrong," he said. "I thought I was enforcing order, procedure, presence." He swallowed. "I thought I had the right to decide who belonged." Marcus spoke, low even. That was the problem. Doyle nodded slowly. Once, twice. He didn't ask forgiveness. Didn't attempt redemption. He simply stood in the truth he could no longer avoid. Then he said quietly, "You built something here." He turned and walked out. The door clicked shut behind him. No one clapped. No one cheered. The moment didn't need decoration. Later, when the bar emptied, Marcus stood alone at the counter, wiping down the wood grain he had restored countless times. Lena leaned against the bar. Jordan stood near the door, coat over one arm. No one spoke. The silence was different now, not waiting, not bracing, settled. Lena's voice was soft but grounded. "This place survived." Marcus didn't look up. "It didn't survive because of me," Jordan answered, tone steady. "But it wouldn't have survived without you." Marcus paused, then nodded once. Not acceptance of praise, acceptance of truth. Outside, the streetlights glowed over wet pavement. The night hummed with the quiet pulse of a city that keeps moving, no matter who breaks or resists. Marcus locked up and stepped out. Lena pulled her coat tight. Jordan stood beside him, hands in pockets. They didn't talk about what came next. There would be hearings. There would be community meetings. There would be op-eds, debates, shifting alliances. There would be days where the weight returned. Days where progress felt thin. Days where exhaustion sat heavy. Resistance is not one moment. It is a lifetime of remembering the line. You belong. Marcus looked at the bar, dark now, but intact, not triumph, integrity. He turned to walk. The night air was cool. The street was quiet. The city lights flickered, no soundtrack. No applause. No final dramatic beat. Just a man reclaiming his place in the world, step by steady step. The door behind him stayed closed, but not to keep people out, to open again tomorrow.